Good day, Internet. Welcome to another teaching while streaming episode featuring your host, Mr. David Brown, coming to you from Brooks, Alberta. I teach at Brooks Composite High School. I teach science and technology, and the reason for this stream is it provides an opportunity for my students, especially because we can't be in the building right now, to explore technology while we have a little bit of fun. And I get to have a little bit of fun. And everyone likes that. So, for those of you joining live, greatly appreciate it. For those of you watching replay, I know there's been quite a few views on my replay from my last video, so that's wonderful. We're going to do a 1-hour stream today, and today you can see behind me, since no one gave me any suggestions, this is a game I really enjoy. It also proves that we can delve a little bit into the realm of mature games, and part of it is understanding that stigma behind violent video games and erasing it and getting rid of the fact that there's something violent going on, but what are we learning? What are we doing? How are we reacting? It's those types of things that I talk about on stream. So once again, Mr. David Brown talking to you from Brooks, Alberta. I teach at Brooks Composite High School, and let's get started on some technology. We got our schedule set up for today, and as you can see, we're going to talk about streaming again, but not from the broadcast side. We're going to talk about it from the networking side. So the networking side is going to be where we focus today. We're going to talk about how does streaming actually work, what hardware is involved, and why should you know these things? Because I know students are always like, I really want to be a streamer. Streaming is going to be the greatest career. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to be the next ninja, even though he fell off the face of the earth. But I'm going to be doing something awesome with streaming. Well, why should you know these things? Why should you understand how the internet works? Because that's going to be your job. If you don't understand how the internet works and how to create those scenarios where your network connection is stable, secure, and all those things, you're going to be in big trouble. And we don't want that. I want to make sure that if my students decide that they want to go into something like this, they want to go down the avenue of streaming, they have to make sure they have a secure network. They have to make sure that they've got everything covered up in terms of their internet service provider. Do they understand how that works? Next topic of the day is going to be Unity and object-oriented programming. I teach computer science. We teach C#. I know there's tons of teachers out there. They love their Java. Java is a great language. It's a good way of training enterprise developers. I was a developer myself for a long time. Still am on the side a little bit. And Java's great, but I find C# hits that middle ground. It allows us to work on object orientation. It's not too intimidating in its syntax. It allows you to understand more advanced syntax so you can learn Java or C++. But it also does things like implicit variables, which are used in JavaScript and in Swift and in Python. So it ties very closely to the interpreted-based languages where you've got some of your more basic things, but there's still a lot of power there for prototyping and even building software if you get really good with it. But it can extend to those more powerful languages, well, quote-unquote powerful these days, if Java and C++. So Unity 3D is a great avenue for that. So we're going to talk about how to actually do some programming today. So while I'm going to take the game, I'm going to probably, once I hit a town or something, step back, and I've got a little project that we're going to showcase. The last one is art and advertising, and I've got a really excellent. The pause is needed there because how good the game trailer is for what I'm going to be putting up on screen today. We're going to watch brief section of a game trailer and showcase to my multimedia students how we can tie digital art and that artistic side to the technology side and why it's needed, why we're going to have to go down this road. Not that traditional art is bad, not that we shouldn't be working with traditional art, but a lot of things is there's a lot of students that love art and they want that as their career, but their parents say, no, you're never going to make any money, never going to have a job. You're going to be living in my basement for the rest of your life if you become an artist, and that's completely false. I hate that. I hate the fact that we've got parents that are so pigeonholed in the fact that there's a starving artist mentality. It doesn't work. And games, and this is why I do this stream, games helps promote those types of careers too, because we need a ton of talented artists in our games. I read a little bit of an article today that says next gen graphics aren't going to be as good because we've kind of hit limits. Part of that is through the art. we need to make sure that our talented artists and those that can draw very realistic textures and understand color in very specific ways are available and are working, and not trying to be something in a health field or trying to be something that they don't want to be. A lot of these people end up in spaces they don't really want to be, and they go, well, art's a hobby. Art's a hobby for me. Well, art doesn't have to be a hobby. If that's your passion and that's your love, go chase it. Go do it. That's what I did. That's why I became a teacher. And a beautiful thing is I'm doing everything that I want to do in this space. I hate the fact that I can't be in front of my students with school closures, but this gives me that avenue, and I love it. I love the fact that right now I got my audience, and I love you guys. You guys are wonderful. I miss my students, BCH students. You guys are amazing. Repping the Buffs today. Can't really see it. Buffs. So let's get going. All right, Path of Exile. If you don't know what Path of Exile is, it is founded from the wonderful Grinding Gear Games studio in New Zealand. Cool thing with Path of Exile is it follows a more traditional action RPG model developed through Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. A lot of people, when Diablo 3 launched, weren't too happy with how the game changed, and they wanted something a little bit more, and Path of Exile really started to fill that role. I got into Path of Exile for that, because I loved Diablo 2. I played way too many hours of Diablo 2 when I was younger, and so I picked up Path of Exile, and it wasn't very good. And why wasn't it very good? Well, because the network connection sucked. It was a game that needed to grow in order to encapsulate a lot of the audience that wanted to play it. And so now it's in a state that is wonderful. I don't see a lot of input lag. If I do, I get mad at it, and I just move on with my day. So let's get started. You'll see at this point I made sure that we're going to start a brand new character. We're going to get going right away. I want my stream, if there's any viewers out there that are following along at home, if you guys get to pick kind of where we're going to go today. I'd like some direction there. I don't want to make all the decisions. That's part of why I do this, is reduce the brain power that I'm using. I teach chemistry as well, and need a break sometimes. Right, my chem class? That's right. All right, let's create a new character. We're going to create, it's got to be a solo self-found character, because that's what we're going to do. Part of the reason here is I have characters that aren't. So we would have access to items and other things that wouldn't be a nice fresh experience. So those that have never seen Path of Exile before, you need the fresh experience, right? The league currently right now, Challenge Leagues is a big thing with Path of Exile, is Delirium. Really neat league. You have to kind of watch the videos for it to understand really what the league is all about. You'll see it pop up. I'll do definitely some mirrors here. Haven't got really far in this league because I didn't put in as much time as I usually do. So, all right, new character. Chat, if anyone is there. We've got an option between the Templar, the Shadow. We've got our wonderful friend. I just call it the Chieftain, but it's the Marauder. Mainly just because its specialization is the Chieftain, and I always play specialization of Chieftain. But there are other good ones. There's the Berserker and the Juggernaut, I should say. Short form. We got the Scion. We have the Ranger, we have the Duelist, and we have the Witch. Alright, chat. Go forth. Which one should I pick? And if no one answers, that means no one's there, and I'm okay with that. I'm still going to talk. I do it in class anyway. And I'll show you something interesting with Path of Exile with this one. So if there's nobody there and they're not going to pick, the neat thing is you could pick anything. I have played all of them. I enjoy all of them. They're all very interesting. So if there is anyone in chat, feel free, help me pick. Good times. Just like class. No one wants to raise their hand. No one knows everything. Oh, Marauder. Okay, yeah, good. I haven't played a Marauder yet this league, so I'm happy with that. We have to give him a name, of course. We have to give him a name. I'm going to call him Glorious Beard, because right now I've been working very hard for my grad class to grow a very long, wonderful beard for them. So we're gonna go. Okay, glorious beard, marauder with a giant sledgehammer. He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. I haven't played one yet this league, so it's gonna be good. Ah, glorious beard already exists. Okay, we got 2 for the witch though. Okay, so sledgehammer away. The witch is one of my favorites. I play the witch all the time. Okay, so we're gonna go with the witch. We got to give her a name though.
When a daughter strays from the light, she makes herself an
Beard wins games. There you go. Sorry, outvoted.
It is your only hope of finding the way home.
No, it happens. The sad thing is I read like a teacher and I didn't even notice that there was a spelling mistake, so it's all right. We just kind of gloss those things over some days. All right, so Path of Exile. What's happening here? And you're probably going, hey, I thought you said you're going to talk about some school-related content, and this is our first bit. This is in terms of online gaming, and that was a big focus. I don't have any kind of sub-points on there, but why I chose Path of Exile is it's an online game. I have to connect to a server. So currently I'm connected to a server in California to play this game. So what I'm doing now is I'm connecting to that server. And as this game is loading, I'm building that connection, and it's populating where things are, how things are going to work. And so it will relay that information back to me on my client. So in this client right here. I don't play the tutorials. If you guys want, you can go. So this is a beautiful thing. I love this. I thought this would be a good thing.
There's a power here that welcomes me.
One of the unique things with games and why it's huge in terms of bringing in things like social studies and art and English is storylines and social constructs, right? So that's going to be a big thing I discuss in hopefully later streams, is how do we develop story. This character has a unique storyline, and that's why it's neat to play the game with other characters, because they have also unique storylines. So this is a magic wielding character. I picked up a wand. Wands are good. Obviously you've got zombies, so those we can part with blood. There is blood in this game. I'm not going to shut it off. It's wonderful. Why should we not be afraid of those things? Why is this something that, in terms of the violence that was just displayed, a little bit of things is it understands that, you know, it's an undead thing, so I know the difference between fantasy and reality, but that's something we can train our kids. We can help them understand the difference between fantasy and reality, and understand that this is a story. There's a story unfolding, and things that bleed is a big thing, where that's part of life, isn't it? So it helps us live the story. And that's important. That's a big thing. Why are we afraid of that? Why are we terrified of the fact that we see things bleed, right? I can prick my finger and I can see it if I really want to. I don't like to. It makes me feel bad. So get rid of the stigma. The stigma of violence is garbage. The understanding is there's difference between fantasy and reality. So it's a big thing. So we got the zombie down. You'll notice I picked up a gem. Cool thing about Path of Exile in its skill system and why I like it is there's gems you place in the weapons and armor. So now I've got a fireball, and now I can have a fire. So you'll notice what's happened here is there's clearly been a shipwreck. There's been something that's occurred in this game world, and now we've got to figure out what's going on. And that builds imperative, right? That's something that's really cool for us as teachers, and we try to do it all the time in class, is build that imperative and understanding that people want to learn and people want to look at these things. And so this is where games and teaching is important, because it helps us understand imperative. Like, why do I want to keep moving? Well, I want to see what's behind the next door. I want to see what's over here. So I'm going to keep going. Right? I have no real objective other than the fact that I got these zombies in my way and I want to light them on fire. Right? So there's another thing. I got a shield. This is the unique thing. Here's your social studies ties, is understanding in terms of weaponry. Like the witch itself, very interestingly, is based off of the understanding of the witches of Salem and the Salem witch trials. How do I know that? because I know the history of the Salem witch trials, and as I've played The Witch, I know that a lot of that similar storyline comes up, and I've built an attachment. So now I'm attached to a social studies event, and there you go. See, I'm just keeping exploring. Ran into a corner there, just about ran me into a wall. Okay, nothing there. One unique thing, one thing I'm not doing is opening barrels. I really should be, but that's okay. Alright, more zombies. Let's finish these guys off. Again, one thing that you understand is you build connections to things like the Crusades. I'm building, or picking up armor. Wow. How does that work? Where's the connection to Crusades? Well, because the types of armor you find are very reminiscent of those era, and you can have discussions about that. You can talk about the Crusades. Hey, there's another social studies point. Right? So that's a big thing. So there's the big thing with games is understanding it's not about the violence. It's not the violence, it's the story. And I think modern gaming has really gotten away from the story in certain contexts. I know there's some really good stories and things like the newest Call of Duty game. I haven't played it myself, but I've heard really good things. The storyline is decent. And I like the fact that kids are playing the storyline, because lots don't. Lots don't play the storyline. So we're making progress. Alright. Now this is the best thing. This is something I like in terms of games, is the fact that we have the boss monster. And why is a boss monster important? Because this is like your test. Here's your giant exam, and this is where kids build resilience, is by fighting the boss monster. Notice I'm dancing around. I'm doing something called kiting, and I've just defeated my boss monster. Why? Because I was agile, I understood what I was supposed to do, and I knew that if something got in my way or something was about to hurt me, like, oh boy, oh, bled to death. Wah, wah, wah. That's my own fault, I should have healed up there. But in that situation, right? That's the big thing with the boss monster, is I have to do something a little bit more. I have to push a little bit harder. I have to understand what's going on. And if I don't understand, something bad's going to happen. Just like something bad just happened right there. So this is not going to be a deathless run for me. That's my big goal right now. I should be playing hardcore. Hardcore is a lot more fun. I just have that anxiety. How do you get over things like anxiety with games? And that's a big thing, is they really can help with that. It's understanding there's challenge, and that you have to that you're not going to succeed all the time. All right? I just had an epic fail live on the internet, and again, it's probably lag. Boom.
I thought I'd be a dead woman by now.
Okay. Rule number 1 with economy: always get your items. So, beautiful tie into business here is that you can discuss economy. Path of Exile is a really interesting economy in the fact that it's not gold based like most traditional RPGs. It's based off of items. It's an older school economy where you'd be trading things like items such as beaver pelts. Oh, look, I can tie in another social studies concept. There's so many culture things ingrained in games that I just really feel like so many people don't tie into. Gaming is such a great hook to culture. Understanding scenery and scenario and tying all those big things. Your Danos, great to see you. Thank you for coming. Mr. Lohman, Mr. Powell, thank you so much. Miss Minora, I love the support of my colleagues. You guys are wonderful. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. If you're still here. If you're not, well, boom. It's okay.
Lionel's watch isn't much.
So now,
There's an island.
World of Warcraft popularized the question mark. I hate the fact that it's a question mark on everything. I just don't have to go and say, hey, there's this person named Nessa. I have to walk up and talk to them. Here's where you can tell it's an online game. Sorry, tangents back and forth all over the place. Man, I should write a script. But this is where you tell it's an online game, because now I have other people here. And so now there's a scenario where I can talk to them, I can discuss these things with them, I can find help with other things. the nice thing I like about Path of Exile is that it's a game that I just can interact with. I don't need help if I don't want to. But here's where storyline comes in.
Fine work with
right?
Where'd you learn to fight like that? No, forget I asked.
So when I first started this game, and I'm sorry I clicked through those other stories too quickly, but in this scenario, right?
Yeah, got something for you. Should help you kill a few more of those undead bastards.
Oh, strong language.
I don't bother thinking.
Beep.
The way I figure it, the longer we fighters live, the longer everyone lives.
So now we're in a situation where we're discussing survival. Well, where can we bring that into, right? That theme ties into a bunch of different things, a ton of different things. So this is usually an interesting point as to where, so these are more skills, so I get to do something other than throw fireballs. I've been playing a lot with wands, so maybe not do wands. What would be good for a stream build? Actually, wanding might not be bad. Got an extra wand here too. Stream, what do you think? What's strong? What's strong? It's tough to ask stream because you guys aren't like all Path of Exile fans and can't be like, oh, just pick that one. That one's the best. So, and my schedule is blocking this one. This is freezing pulse. So this is cold. There's more fire. It's not good, so I'm not gonna pick that one. Lightning. I played a lot with this one. It's not. It's okay. I can make my own zombies. I can create my minions. Can't name them though. Wish I could. All right. Okay, what do I got going on here? This is another cool thing with Path of Exile is I have to match the colors and with specific colors in the items I have. So and this is another thing why I like games is there's another puzzle, right? There's a little bit of a logic puzzle here of going, okay, how do I connect these? How can I put these things in specific places to ensure that I'm doing the best that I can with my character? So zombies, I like it. Making my own zombies. Notice I have to put it into the blue socket. So blue to blue. Easy peasy. Alright, I got my minions. I love a minion build. Let's do that. This is going to be good. This is a good thing to play. Skill points. Look at this. Can you imagine this like a student in a classroom? And they need to go here. And you have to figure out the best path for them to go. That's what this map to me looks like, is the fact that it's such a complex set of information and we have to break it down. We have to make it smaller. So it's neat that I can zoom out, and this looks, I know lots of people who play these types of games look at these and go, I don't want that. I'm stopping now. But here's the thing, zoom in, and now it's smaller. We've chunked down the information, right? So that's a key thing why we need to teach these types of things to students, and why students, you guys need to pay attention to these types of things, to chunk it down, make it smaller. Now I don't see the whole thing. I'm not looking at it. I know where I want to go. I want to try and get out to here. Like, I know I want to make sure I got minion stuff, so I know this is a minion thing. I'm going to try and get there. Well, what's the best way to get there? Well, let's chunk it down, right? Let's make it smaller so I can see. Right? So that's a beautiful thing, is now I can make it smaller and see. I know, and the nice thing and Path of Exile does a really good job of with tooltips, is I know that this is a better way to go because I get minion stuff. So I'm going to make sure I go that way. I like this way too. So put in my first skill point. So there's another layer of complexity, and that's why games are so crucial, is because I have to make choices, and I have to make calculated choices. So games is huge. There's just so many opportunities, and it just baffles me why we're so scared of games. It is mind-boggling. Okay, I usually go to my stash, that's why I hovered over there, because I usually have tons of other items from other characters, but now, moving on. So how did I know that I had to go there? There's nowhere else to go. Step one, I can't go back. We always press forward. Now you get to be privileged with the long load screens. So we'll finish the first little things. Yeah, and Minecraft is a wonderful thing. A viewer just brought up Minecraft, and I completely agree. Like, there's a story to that. And the nice thing with Minecraft is a lot of self-building going on. I find with Minecraft though is there's the sandbox element gets a little much, and we start to lose the understanding that we're supposed to be achieving objectives and moving forward. It's something where someone can literally sit and build dirt blocks for hours upon end, which is fine. That's just fine. But I think the key thing with games is understanding that there's progression. We need to move forward. We need to have an achievement. Personally. So if anyone's like, well, why aren't you got your zombies? There's my zombies. So now I got my own guys. So again, beautiful thing is making sure I explore. I like that. That's a good one. Let's put that on. That to there. I'll be okay. It's easy to make more. They're expendable. Kind of like administrators. Oh, did I say that on stream? Ah, man. Okay. So this is the lead component, is this Mirror of Delirium, and this is where artwork comes in handy, and you need to understand that art is a huge component of games. And the neat thing here is the layering, and this is a huge cool thing about technology and what's happening with gaming is the layering of things. So there's our normal world, and now the world has changed. So now I have a new set of monsters that I'm dealing with, so the puzzle has changed, isn't it? And so that's the interesting thing, is now that the puzzle is different, now I have to do certain other things. So I've got different types of enemies with different abilities. I have to make sure that I'm making decisions on the fly. I still have the old ones. They are changed a little bit though, which is kind of neat. So they have a little added powers.
To learn is to live.
And now, based on my progression, I get a reward. That seems like school. That seems like what we do is understanding that if you, based on progression, you should get a reward. What I like about this though is you always get something, right? And so that's the nice thing, is it doesn't matter how far I get. If I don't get very far, I just don't get as much, which is okay. Right? You get that understanding that it's okay if you didn't get as far as certain things. That's just fine. Not a problem with that at all. Very interestingly, I can tell you that I'm usually astronomically faster with my leveling, but I am discussing things a lot more than I usually do. Which is a good thing. That metacognition, thinking about your thinking, is always nice. So exploring, I knew that this person is here. I want to make sure that I do this. So again, boss monster. You do something different. Ooh. And so this is the casino part. This is the part that, and I do understand this part. It's that little bit of now dopamine response. I just got something cool. You heard me right away. Ooh, oh, that's interesting. That element is incredibly difficult for us to build in a classroom. Is that ooh moment? We try our best. We try and make sure we have those epiphanies and that understanding that learning is huge, but it becomes very very difficult because it's really tough to compete. So. Yep, the guys following me are my allies, and I don't actually hurt them. The enemies hurt them. So the nice thing is you'll see my red bar here is my health, and I don't get hurt as much, they get hurt. So that's the nice thing about being a summoner. So you'll notice that there's different colors of gear or loot or equipment. These things, they have magic powers, and now I need to make more decisions. Right? Now I have to figure out, okay, what's the best thing to do for my character? How am I going to do this? So that's a big thing. I'm going to switch something up here. And We're gonna do something a little different. And again, notice how my guys protected me there. Now I lost them because I'm switching something around. Okay, bring them back. Find that gem. Ooh, should get gloves on. Okay, so this thing I made a decision based upon what I've got. So I wanted to use this staff. The staff is actually pretty cool. It does it throw traps instead of shoot fireballs out. So as you can see, very interesting results with that staff. It helps them build up. You'll notice this game is nice and slow paced. That's another thing with Civ 6 that I enjoyed doing on my last stream, is it's a little slower paced so people can follow along a little bit better. So that I enjoy. What you'll notice too is I have limited inventory space, so I have to make more decisions. So that's another thing. It's just I like the decision making aspect of RPGs, which is odd because decisions in normal everyday life are more complex, or even less complex at times. Okay, so we're moving on. And now I'm going to hit a waypoint. So the waypoint is a nice thing because now I know that I've achieved a stopping point. I've achieved somewhere where I can pause and I can go back to town. Okay, so there is a wonderful world of Path of Exile, and now we said we're going to talk about streaming and how does it really work. Path of Exile music is going to play behind the scenes as we work today, mainly because it stays on behind the background. It's one of the games it does, and I don't mind. It's good music, okay? And it adds some seriousness, some level of foreboding to what we're going to discuss, and that's going to be networking. Okay, so for networking, and I'm just going to lower the schedule here. How do games work? Right? We just watched a good half an hour of all of these things happening, and I said it's online. And it's me talking to a game server. So how does it happen? So right now, if this is my computer and this is my game server, how does it work? Well, and this is why you need to know some of these things. So everyone hopefully knows that they have some kind of cable connection, right? So they have some kind of internet connection, and that's usually through a modem here. So I'm just going to call that my internet connection, right? So there's my internet connection. So now that I have my internet connection, how do I get from here all the way over to here? Remember, this server, and I gotta make sure that we are very aware of this. So this piece right here, this is in California. Okay, so that's in California. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump. Right? So we need to make sure that we can talk to this. And this is why streamers need to understand networking, is that I need to connect first to an internet service provider. And so I'm just going to use a cloud just as my internet. So internet cloud. And I'm not going to talk about how this works. The internet itself is a giant rabbit hole, and there's so much that we can go in here. So I guess part of me is being a streaming noob. I forgot to explain, hey, this is Cisco Packet Tracer. We're using it to diagram and demonstrate, and it's a great tool for showing how networks work. Another great tool is GNS3, so that will be nice. All right. Okay, so now we've got our internet, and on the other side, okay, so we'll leave that cloud there. We'll put the cloud in the middle. So this will be something where I'm going to connect to somewhere, and it's going to connect me to California. How do we do that? Well, we need some cables, first and foremost, right? So I'm going to use basic copper cable. So just basic copper cable. I'm going to connect my PC. I'm going to connect it to my modem. Right? And this is what every single person who's watching this right now, whether you are gamer, teacher, it doesn't matter, you know that this is happening. right? You know that this is something that is occurring in your house, but how does the rest of it work? A buddy of mine is actually a network engineer at SaskTel, and he said, this is how I explain it to everyone. He said, it's just a really fancy way of passing notes in class. And I was like, holy man, now that I know a lot more about networking as a networking instructor, that's really cool. It's true. It's like this is the classroom, your internet's your classroom, and now I can distribute the notes, right? There's the postman. That's why we call them packets. So what the game server does is sends packets to me, and how do I get them? I need my cable modem. So now my internet service provider would help me connect this, so some people might not do that, to there. This is your home. That's your home setup. Done. That's how the internet works, right? You just plug it in and it goes. Well, no. There's a ton of stuff happening here, and there's a ton of routes and pathways, just like you were passing a note in class. So I have to go to the 2 people in front of me, and then 2 people to the right of that person, and then get to the corner person that I actually wanted to send the note to. Nobody sends notes anymore in class, they just text each other, so this analogy gets a little weak when you don't understand it. But now, this internet cloud, there's a bunch of stuff in here, and the internet service providers run all of the much bigger equipment that starts to share where this information goes. So from my networking point of view, one of the things that you're going to need to understand is your cable modem needs to have a router, it needs to have a firewall. You need a couple of things to make sure you're secure, and we don't usually have them. So I'm just going to showcase that that's our basic home network, but I'm going to showcase what a game place would do and their enterprise network. So these game places, they don't have one server, they have tons of servers. I say tons because I honestly don't even know what data centers have these days. They've grown so exponentially much since I've been inside a data center that I would need someone who's been in a data center recently to tell me how many servers are there, and it's astronomical. And it's not even just servers, it's storage devices, it's networking equipment, it's huge. Okay, so we want to talk to this game server. The internet provides us the support because they need an internet service provider. So they also will have an internet service provider. So we want to make sure that we've got their piece. So we'll just use a cable modem for them as well. Okay. So we'll connect their cable modem up. So the biggest thing is I don't have any more coaxial connections. I should have set this up in hand. I need another oh, can't power it on. See, this is a neat thing with this tool is it's actually live. It's like we're actually seeing the tool. So that's a pretty cool thing with this one. Cisco did a pretty good job. The desktop one is excellent. Okay, so now I got another coax connection, which, again, it's a little far-fetched. Okay, now I can plug in that to there. Make sure we turn it back on. And now we can plug our game server in, and interestingly enough, we can plug it straight into here. But that doesn't happen because there's not a direct pathway between this place and this place. There's a bunch of other things happening. Okay, so let's get rid of that cable. Now we need to set up more stuff. I'm going to move this over a little bit. So in terms of an enterprise network, there's going to be a few key components, and the first one is going to be how we access it. We got to get inside, and so there'll be some sort of router. There'll be something that says, okay, all the packets coming in, I'm going to manage you. And we're going to use a Cisco ISR 4321 router. I'm really hoping, Cisco, if you're listening, Cisco Systems, or someone wants to promote my stream to Cisco Systems, we would love 4221 routers. We can't afford the big ones, but 4221 router would be nice. Now, this device is going to now route. It's called a router. That's the nice thing. It's logical. It sends packets, those messages. This is the person that's 2 places in front of you. It's going to now distribute your package to where it's supposed to go. Do I go right or do I go left? Well, I need to go right because that's where the person is. So it's going to have that connection. So it routes to things. Nice thing is we connect it with a basic copper cable. As you can see, there'd be a lot better stuff from an enterprise perspective, a lot faster in Ethernet. Connection isn't established because this isn't actually turned on. I have to open things up and tell things where to go. So the next piece of the puzzle, from an enterprise networking perspective, in a layer, we'd have a switch. Beautiful 2960 catalyst switch. Cisco systems, again, we want some of those, please. And so what does a switch do? Well, a switch is now an automated door. And it's something now, if the door is open, I can go through it. If the door is closed, I can't. But if the door is pointing a specific way, or if I have multiple doors, now I can know where to go. And so that's where, if the router sends it to the right, now the next person or the next couple of people could be your switches, right? Where now it knows where it's supposed to go. I know where I have to get. It's wrapped up in a nice pretty bow. You put some like glitter on it so that the person getting it has that wonderful piece of mind knowing it's gorgeous and beautiful. Oh, Mother's Day coming up, by the way. And now the switch will just make sure that it gets to where it has to go. It's on and off, right? It just goes, okay, I need to go this way or that way, this way, that way. All right. So our switch is basic. And so then, from a switch perspective, we can connect that up. And now the switch can now get connected to our server. And presto changeo, we're good to go. This is an incredibly simplified setup. Astronomically simplified. So let's open our ports so you can kind of see what's going on here. So let's turn on our gigabit side, and it's doing some work in terms of establishing addresses and stuff. So it's like, okay, I'm this person now, I have a specific address. We'll talk about those different things at a different time in terms of networking. But there you have it. That's simple. I have a router, I have a switch. So there's your internet hardware, right? So if you're in my networking class and you're understanding local area networks, that's the hardware. That's pretty easy, isn't it? Right? So there's your hardware. How does it work? Well, this sends things to where they need to go. This is open and closed, so we can move things around exactly where we need to push them. And this one is the one asking for things. So this one asks, this is okay. Oh, yeah, I'm holding on to something like that. It's my post office. I got something. Here you go. So that's kind of a neat thing. So we can actually show a simulation of packets moving. And now they've terminated, right? So the packets moved from the switch and they've terminated at the router. So the router right now is holding on to them. And it distributes packets. So, yep, good. Non-terminal. Moves things on. That's interesting. So we do have a little bit of a packet breakdown, and that's okay. But that's why we use these tools, right? That's why we can observe this, and now I can see what's happening. So now if you're thinking, like, why isn't it getting down here? Well, I haven't requested anything. So this computer is just kind of hooked up, and then if I put everything on a similar network or have a tunnel built so that I can talk between them, that's where things would happen. And that's where the connection occurs. So now we can flop back to the game and understand the connection. So I'm connected to the game, right? I'm connected to that server. I've completed the pathway. There'd be some authentication. I'd have to put in passwords and stuff. But now we have everything done. So, all right. We're going to hit that waypoint back again. Oh man, I said I'd only stream till 2, but I'm going deeper because I'm not going to cover everything I want to talk today because I also want to play some Path of Exile. I haven't played it in a little while, so makes me feel a little bit alive. Okay, so now with our wonderful RPG system, we have a mission. So this is why, for students, I've been talking to the teachers a lot today, which is fine, which is good. Teach the teachers time. We can all chalk this up as professional development. One of the interesting things from a student perspective and why quests are important is because it showcases the need for objectives, right? There's a couple of things happening. I want to progress my character and make her more powerful. I also need to ensure I am finishing these missions. So the big goal is my character progression. I want to get her to be powerful. My short-term goal, though, is I want to find the medicine chest. Oh, I do have a town scroll portal. That's good. Sorry, that's what I was checking for. Quick flash, and everyone's like, oh my god, what happened? I don't know what's going on. Don't worry. There's certain things, again, it's kind of like being in school. There's certain things we explain because they're good things to explain.
Need more mana.
Okay, so another interesting thing there. I need more mana. Okay, I need to manage a resource. So I can't just keep doing.
Clatter.
It's going to be something important, so I have to clean out my inventory. So I use a little portal spell. Pops him back to town. Okay. Don't care. Alright, we're good. And so if you're like, well, why don't you like those? These are yellow. Those are good items, right? Yellow means good. So the big thing is I can't hold everything. So I need to get rid of some things. And my character is not someone who uses a club. It's not someone who uses an axe. So again, I've made a decision based upon what my character is and what I want them to do. Get rid of that shield too. Get out of here. Right, so notice, no gold. I've now got these magic items. So now I've given the person enough things. They've given me some magic items. My stash is where I can put things that are magic items. So I can place them into here. It's like my bank. So now I'm hoarding all these magic items and I can spend them a little bit later on other things. And I might have to. Good time to give a point. I want minion damage because I am definitely using some zombies. Let's go back and pick up my chest now that I got some room. I'm going to pick up the magic items because they're going to give me more magic items if I sell them or trade them in because they've got more value. So again, we understand currency, we understand value. All through a game. Huh, who knew? So just making sure, because now, again, part of why I explore, because that's a good thing for my character's power. I know there's going to be things that I need to maybe kill in order to make sure that my character gets stronger, because that gives me experience. Alright, we've cleaned it all up. Don't need that. Moving right along. So this is a great thing in terms of artwork. Path of Exile is beautiful artwork, beautiful scenery and graphics. The music is absolutely wonderful as well. So you can tell there's a lot of people behind these projects, and so again, for those that are like, I like to draw, I like music, there's opportunity out there for you. There's definitely opportunities for you. So don't think like there isn't. You can follow your passions. You can do what you love doing. I want the Quicksilver Flask. Again, these are quick choices that I'm used to making, and this isn't a tutorial on how to play Path of Exile, although that could be pretty cool. Because we are running our wonderful zombie folk, I'm going to summon some phantasms. So this will be a nice thing I can add to my fireballs.
While we live, we are blessed.
So, you managed to salvage...
And then I can go from there. So again, I've heard the story lots. My apologies that I'm not going through a lot of the story stuff.
There's a pool near the mud flats needs investigating.
Here's a really cool fun fact. RPGs are one of the best reading experiences, and here's why. Back in the day, they never had voiceovers. I didn't get to listen to someone. I had to read the text. And if I didn't read it, I didn't understand what I was supposed to do. So just like a student, if I don't read and understand what I'm supposed to do, then I can't do what I'm supposed to do. So for you students, this is why your teachers are pushing you for reading and understanding, because it's just so important. If you can't read what the task is presented to you, it's going to be tough. And where do we read these things? A lot of auditory tasks are provided these days. Well, we read emails, don't we? We get a lot of things in a Google Doc, like a lot of things that are given to us in order to, for our duties to perform. This happens in all fields, and I've worked in a lot of different fields. You have to be able to read. If you can't read the emails, if you can't read the documents that are provided to you for your tasks, that makes it more challenging. All right, off to another area. So if you're probably wondering, like, in terms of a loading screen, lots of things you're supposed to read before you do a question. What are you talking about? Don't you just do the question and hope that you actually got all the information from it to begin with? right? So in this scenario, if I didn't read, I wouldn't be able to understand. Again, this is also why I like the game. Lots of things going on now. As you progress through the game, there's a lot more that happens.
Black storms descend on
So
us from
these
the
items
unnatural
are
tempests of
the
rage
story.
and hatred, lashing our backs, tearing at our houses. The rain is shot with shadow. It withers our crops, sickens our livestock. The wind carries with it a restless spirit that breeds melancholy and madness. A spirit that creeps through our dreams, weaves tales of misdeed around our resting minds. We try not to listen. We try to
I think this
remember
ray class will
ourselves.
serve.
Some of us forget. Brothers fight. Brothers die. Calm punishes those that quarrel, that steal, that murder. Yet still the nightmares goad us into malefaction. We are banished from sleep.
There you go. Lots of things happening, so you might not have been able to hear the story. But the story is something that you should always pay attention to, especially when you're playing a game, because that's part of why you're playing it. But it also provides you with context, and that's another key thing, is you need to understand the context. Why are you doing what you're doing? Right? And that's very important in UI design. I'm having a little epiphanies as I'm talking to you guys today. Is in terms of UI design, it's incredibly important to put context in. How do I know that I'm supposed to actually keep going and keep fighting these things? Like, why am I trying? Well, because I have my context of my reward. I understand what will happen if I succeed or don't succeed. I understand what will happen if I continue. So I'm going to keep continuing. Again, notice so many more enemies now. Basically, the game says, "Oh, you figured out how to play, right? Okay, well, here you go." I'll tell you, when I first started playing this game and really didn't understand the skill system and how to do a lot of things and what things were good and what things were bad, these types of things, I ended up dying a lot. But again, I didn't quit. I learned. I read some stuff about, okay, what's good, what's bad. That really helped. I played. I just learned how to play. So that's really important. Again, the same thing with learning. I cannot say that enough. Is in terms of learning, it ties so well into the way games are designed. The good games. There are a lot of bad games out there. A lot of bad games. But so I remembered I just picked up a couple of things I need. So let's get those going. Right now, I don't even care what's on it. Like this is where the layers get deeper and deeper with my equipment. Is now I would like to get specific equipment. So I want things that make my zombies a little bit better. So, and there's my go fast potion. For my physical literacy, everyone's like, oh man, this is why gamers just so out of shape. Yeah, a little bit. I do sit in a chair a lot. Not healthy for me. What I do love about the gaming industry right now is they are pushing physical activity. Most e-athletes or esports people need to make sure that they do some training. Again, ooh. You can tell I'm getting a lot more powerful because things are starting to disappear a little bit faster. But again, boss monster. So how do I know? Context. It's orange plate that goes up here. So that's really important. But where I was going with the physical literacy thing is fine motor movement. You'll notice that I can go gross motor, where I can move the mouse really quickly and really far, or I can do fine motor movement, where I have to move my character very fine in order to avoid things. Games like League of Legends, and I will play it. For those of you on stream, you heard it here first. I will play it at some point. I haven't played it so long. I was gonna play it today. I'll be honest, I had it queued up because it's also an online game, and it does do well because there's queues, so there's more breaks where I can talk about things a little bit more. I was nervous. I haven't played in so long, so I'd have to play a little bit, build my chops up beforehand. I'm interested in looking at Valorant. Valorant is Riot Games' answer to Overwatch, and I think that's going to be super interesting. Because they are someone who has paid a very close attention to what Overwatch isn't doing well. And going from there. So, okay, I got to do something here because there's a little quirk, and it's gaming the game. It also lets me talk about the next piece of the puzzle, because I'd really like to get through a lot of these things. I'm gonna have to make condensed videos from this. I'm gonna have to create shortcuts. So what I just done is gaming the game. Is I know that I'd have to use a town portal scroll from the other quests that I had in order to come back and turn it in. Well, if I do this one now, I now can use the waypoint to get back further ahead. So now I can go back really easy. Smart, right? I'm smart. SMRT. I think Summon Raging Spirits is going to be the one. Detonate Jet is a ton of fun. I like that build, but it's definitely, I don't think... no, yeah, I'm going to go with Raging Spirits. But I know I can use it later. Movement spell. Wonderful. Okay, we got a place to put it. I'm going to take out my fireball now. Arcane Surge support is useless for me these days. Let's see if I can get something else.
Hello.
Let's see what's here. Phantasm, Chain, Proliferate, no.
Farewell.
So the things that I'm discussing and just talking to myself out loud are supports. So how to make my abilities better. There's certain things that will do it. So we'll go from there. So I wanted to come back and get that reward. That reward is nice, and now I can waypoint ahead, and now I can go back and go and do the other quest that I'm supposed to do. So now when I town portal back, I can actually now move forward. So I'm going to finish that quest, and then I will go over my Unity piece. So if you're like, oh man, Path of Exile is cool, but I really want to learn about Unity, it's coming. I promise. Because we've been doing a lot of stuff that I can easily talk about, and it's going to be really interesting. My movement spells make this game so much better. That's why I really like this one versus Diablo, because now I can link. Every so often, there's better ones, but... Alright, fetid pool time. We're gonna go hunt a necromancer. Again, greatly appreciate those that have come out to watch the stream today. Hopefully you've enjoyed Path of Exile. Part of the reason I did pick this game as well was because it is cross-platform. I know not everyone is a PC gamer, and so that's important to me to help showcase something that can also be played on a console. So this game is for free on console. I really feel like I should just be getting props from all of these companies that I give notice to. Really should reach out for some sponsorships. Keep this stream alive even when I go back to school. So you can see part of the reason why I got the Raging Spirits is now I have more allies. So I'm focused a lot on the summoning of monsters. And I at this point can run around and do silly things. I love little voiceover things. when certain things happen. Okay, so now I got our Necromancer. Easy peasy. Thank you to the stream for telling me to pick zombies, and also play the witch, because she, like you can see, she's a lot of fun. Again, lots of fine motor movement, and this is the thing. Like I literally have spent so much time researching and looking at how do you tie games to basically every facet of education, and it's absolutely possible. And I think the biggest thing is we need to get our kids aware of it. Like, we got lots of students that game. I think a lot just do it because it's now a culturally accepted hobby in some circumstances. There's still quite a bit of stigma behind games, and especially the violent piece. So we've cleared out this place. We got the Necromancer and all his minions. Right on. Bring town portal back. And that mission is complete. So I think the big thing is again, like I was just talking about, we need to get our students understanding why they're playing and what they're playing and the importance and the little details. The things that I took for granted before I made games.
Just the one, was it?
I had a great opportunity
Guess the bastard got
to
a
make
bit
sure
lonely, decided-
that, and I could make games. And I was given that opportunity to make a game. And it was never published. It was something that we as a very, very small group of people realized that games are incredibly challenging to develop. But we had a huge prototype. We had a small beta version made, and lots of people enjoyed it. It was a neat little game. So it's a big thing. Is the pay good? Pay doesn't matter, but it is good. It's very hard to get into game development. It's a very challenging industry. It's very rigorous. It is. You need a lot of resilience, and you have to work your way up. But the big thing in terms of game development is where a lot of companies are going, and this is my tie to business technology, is marketing companies are now hiring people to make small games for training materials. Companies are understanding that these things that exist in the game world are things that they need to capture and help people understand certain concepts, because people want to play the game, so they'll actually go and learn what they need them to learn in terms of training. VR is going to be a very big thing going forward, and VR games is going to be a big thing. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen there. All right, segue. Moving on to point number 2, and like I said, I dropped my schedule. Schedule's hidden there. All right. So we've been doing a lot of gameplay, and we focused a lot on the social and cultural aspects of gaming, and we talked about the networking piece. Next point that I wanted to bring up today on my agenda is Unity 3D and object-oriented principles. So this game world has a ton of objects. This is why games are so super complicated, is in the fact of my character is an object, this character is an object, this character is an object, this notice board is an object, this stash is an object, this person's an object. There may be objects in the background. These things might be objects. This could also be part of a developed world or something that's modeled. So we can interact with it because it's got physics, but the world itself is just a bigger object. But there's a lot of things that are interacting here. And I said, I'm an object. Well, oh, that's a character. If I look at my inventory, not pathways, these are objects. And as you can see on my character, they all have models and they all do something. So my object is holding objects. So this is why object-oriented programming is super important to understand, is because as your programs get more complex, for my beginner students, you've developed the understanding of creating that sequence of code and understanding I'm going to start and finish somewhere and I'm going to solve a problem along the way. Objects is the same thing, except now the web is much bigger. Aha, like this. right? More complicated, more places to go. How do we get there? What's the best way to get there? And so that is where object-oriented principles come in, is that if you follow principles or a small set of rules, you'll be able to utilize those rules to create a better roadmap and connect things. You want to make sure things are intertwined and connectable. And then your program will wrap them all up, package them nicely, and then run. And actually that's how it works. There's wrappers, there's packages. So it is a little more complicated than that. Again, Path of Exile music in the background. We're going to flip over and we're going to take a look at Unity 3D. So Unity 3D is my preferred game development platform. This is the platform I built my game in. Much older version. I have students that utilize Unity 3D, and it's this version, and I tell them the story that I started in Unity 3, and now it's in Unity 2019, because they were getting so far in their versioning for 3, 4, 5, etc. They decided to go with years. Makes me feel old. So the wonderful world of Unity 3D and why it's so wonderful to use is that it does a lot of things for you. So I've pre-created something here. I've made a little person. So this is a person. It's a capsule model. How you get that is through the game object, 3D object here. This is not a Unity tutorial. This is more of a development tutorial. So if you do want to learn more about Unity, I will do more of these things in other streams. So make sure you're catching those streams or the replays. So in this scenario, I've created a little capsule. I have my camera, which is usually in most traditional things is facing that way. So right now, like I said, so it's a big view box now, so because I've changed the angle, but it's usually something that faces forwards. And that's your first person view, right? So what I've done is I made a top-down view. Oops. Top-down view, so that we can showcase movement, because character movement is something I talked about in my last stream, and so I'm going to bring it up again here, is understanding how do we move a character, but now we're actually going to see it in action. So this particular piece of the puzzle is I got my capsule, I got my camera set up, and how do we make it move? And that's through scripting and code. So this is an object, and how I made it an object is I've attached a script to it. So you can't see that, my webcam is not blocking it, so there's the script. And now we're going to open it up, and I've already got it pre-opened, so I'm just going to flip to it. I am going to reduce the schedule again so that you can see the entire development environment. And so there's the development environment. So this is where the coding begins. So in order to make something happen in Unity, you have to understand objects. You have to understand all of the bits and pieces that are able to be interchanged between objects. So my capsule, my little pill, is an object, and I want it to move. Well, how do I make it move? First things first, and this is my personal preference. There could be professional Unity developers that wander into this video because they might tag it as Unity and they'll go, this guy has no clue what he's doing. Oh my goodness, what is he doing? We have to reach out to his kids. Hopefully not. This is my preferred way. Again, this is flavor, right? Developers can develop flavor. A lot of tutorials may just tell you to do what I'm doing just in a particular block. I'm going to be doing it in a function, mainly just so you can see it, right? It blocks out the code a little bit better. Okay, so open up and there's code already here. If we open up code in any other thing, there's nothing here. Well, the beautiful thing with Unity is it puts libraries in for you. That's good, because we need to use them. Here's our class, here's our object, and I call this one Move Controller. So this is one thing where my object should have just only one piece, but remember that that object can have other objects attached to it. And so this controller is what's going to help the object move. So I know just by design that this code is only for movement. And that's restrictive, but that's a design choice. That's something I said, I just want this to be able to move my guy. I don't want it to actually control my guy. In other ways, just move controller. So in this scenario, I want a move speed variable, and I've made it global. And this is something even my beginner programming students learn, is about local and global variables. So this is a global variable, and why is it global? Because movement is something that I want whoever's building the game. So one cool thing with Unity, so let's go back to my little capsule guy. as you can see, there's a script attached to it, and just above my webcam there's a number that's 2. So if I were someone building tools or doing the coding, but I'm not actually doing the game design piece, I've got someone else doing some of those things, that person now has control over this object of how fast it moves. So right now it moves pretty slow, but they can change it right here. So I've given my designer some power over that. Game engines, right? Huge, because now I have a design team and a development team, and now I can start creating a team for these types of things. And for those that are going to be taking my options next year, you're going to get a flavor of this and how that's going to work. Okay, back to our code, because we're in the development team. Okay, so we got a global variable. Is this a good global variable? Yes. Why? Because I want to give my design team some power. We're going to go back to this, and this is something I did add later because I knew it was something I would need based on how I designed the rest of my code. This is the start function. Every Unity script has it. It's so you can actually start things. So what do you want to do before your game object starts running, starts doing its thing, starts checking for movement, starts doing all of the things that you've coded it to do? You need to initialize some things. Well, start is a good place for it. You can do it up here because code runs from top to bottom. But in this scenario, I can actually, this function will run the first frame, so I can instantiate, get things started, and then what comes after it is the game loop. And this one is just called update. And lots of game engines, if you look at other ones, they use update or some line of update. So this is now updated everything. All right. Well, this controller is to move. So what should I be doing every frame? What should I be checking for? I should be checking for movement. And this is where the flavor thing comes in. I prefer building my things in functions because that takes my code out, it puts it into a block, and this is something that's like, okay, if anything needs to move with these specific keys, this is how it's going to do it. So could I use this move controller now on just about anything? I could, because it's not just related to this, it's related to other things. This one is more check for move key, so this is move, and then I could check for different properties on objects, but for now, I just said move. My flavor. I could put everything inside move in update, so it can check for those keys for every time this updates. But then, really nothing. For me, it's just, but then it's just, it's something where, what if you want to add more? That's where the but what else was coming from. But again, like I said, it's flavor. Certain people can write thousands of lines of code in the update loop, and some people might think that's okay, right? Code, make it work, then make it better. So in this scenario, like I said, I like functions. So now move. Well, if I call this move function, it goes to here. Vector 3, new type. You have never seen it before, but Vector 3 is a Unity thing, and all it is a standard vector that has 3 dimensions, x, y, z. So what it typically looks like, x, y, z. So hopefully you can see that okay, but that's what a vector would look like. It has an x coordinate, a y coordinate, a z coordinate. How does that relate? Well, if we look at the Unity 3D, x, y, z. Position, x, y, z. Rotation, x, y, z. Scale, x, y, z. So those vector components are something that's this nice little array that's squashed down. It's this fixed thing, and it provides x, y, z coordinates for just about everything. So how do we check for input? Well, again, game engine. Love you, game engines. Thank you so much, because you detect input. I don't have to go and look for a library that is going to detect keystrokes. It's going to do the things I need to do. This does it for me. So input, find keys. I can also use mouse. I can also use touch. But I chose keys, and I've got W, D, S, and A. I've got forward for W, right for D. S is backwards, and A is left. So I find out which key was pressed, and then I say what movement direction it is. So I say, okay, make my move direction, but don't put anything in it. I'll tell you what's going to be based on what key was hit. If W is the one pressed, I want you to move forward. If D is pressed, I want you to move right. If S is pressed, I want you to move back. And if A is pressed, I want you to move left. There's no default here, because I can now, and part of it is I can extend this a lot further based on other keys that are pressed. but that might be something I do in a different function. Now I set the position and rotation. Rotation's not changing, so I just said, hey, stay the same. But now I'd say position. Oh, look, there's a built-in thing for me to look and find the position. So the built-ins is huge, and that's something I'm going to talk a lot more about to my classes, is utilizing the libraries and utilizing things, because we don't do a lot of it, and we need to do more of it. So the transform or the shape or the capsule, the pill, find a position. What is it? Okay, take it, add on our movement direction. So which way are you supposed to go? So you're going to move it a little bit, but that movement direction, and this is order of operations, thank you, is by the game time. So how many frames the game is. So if I don't have this, it moves super fast. But if I do have this, it's something where it's going to be moving by game time. And game time means that if the frames speed up and slow down, it can keep up. It's moving at a constant rate, which is very important in terms of games. This is something that was a big learning thing for me when I started doing it. And then by the move speed, which I just talked about. So the move speed tells me if I want to move faster or slower. So let's see how this looks in action. So little play mode. There we go. Top-down view, as mentioned. I can move forward by pressing W. I can move backwards. I can move left. And I can move right. Notice it again goes really slow. But if we're dropping frames, if there's something where my video card can't handle, I'm actually really impressed in the computer right now, it's handling a lot of stuff on the go, is the fact that it can keep up. So it will make sure that it keeps up. I can speed that up by increasing this value. So if I want that to be 5. Notice I could change that because it's public, and now my designers can say, hey, okay, 5 feels a lot better. I like 5. Let's stick with 5. Okay, well, maybe no, it's too fast. Let's go 3. Let's try 3. 3's good. No, 4. 4 better. 4 is pretty good. Actually, 5 is probably spot on. That's probably what I'd then request maybe the default to be, but let's go 10. Let's see 10. Okay, 10 super fast. Let's not do 10. So that's the nice thing with this, is that as I'm testing, and that Q&A is huge, and I'm actually was really contemplating reaching out to Valorant is one of them. The other one is like World of Warcraft Shadowlands. I really want to show you guys World of Warcraft in terms of MMOs, because that's the huge network of things, right? Massive, lots of different servers interacting with each other at the same time. So we might do that at some point in time. But this showcases just basic movement, and that's just a 3D capsule from a top-down view moving around. This script took me 10 minutes to write, probably should have taken me 5. I haven't done it in a little while, so I had to remember all the basics. But notice this little thing. These are great questions. Is this a good name for the function? All right, I'm pointing at my screen, but you can't see it. Is that a good name? Move. No, it's actually a terrible name, by the way, because it's good for what I wanted it for this object. This object I said is going to be a move controller. So again, design decision. I called it move controller, so is move okay for this object? Yes. Should I just have a move controller? No, I'm going to need more, because the object's going to want to do more things, right? What if I wanted to shoot? What if I wanted to grab something or interact with something? This should be input detection, right? Check keys, check pressed. That's a better name, because that's what it's doing, right? It's not just moving something, it's got more to it. So your function name should be relating to what code that you're writing. Does this function allow for extension? Absolutely not. It's move. And that's why the name of it is bad, because it's not natural. If I did like open inventory screen within here, that would be ridiculous. I'd probably just have to get called into the CEO's office and maybe get released because I don't know how to write code properly. But code has to make sense. And I talk about that a lot in class too, is your code needs to make sense for what you're doing. We'll talk a little bit about obfuscation a little bit later. It's something that's changing in terms of the way code works, because code is now okay to share. It's not something you want to hide unless you're in a company that you need to. Part of it too is, part of it is encryption is now a much bigger thing. We don't have to obfuscate our code as much because we can encrypt certain things and then block it. So that's a big thing. Google is masterful at that. So this one, what more could we add to this game loop? Now we've got move, so if we want to just leave move, we could now add another function that does something else. We could add not just move, we could add attack, we could add other things. How could I change it so that it's a first-person game or a third-person game? Not here, right? Now it's a design thing. And I'm going to leave that question with you guys, and I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a solution for those that are trying some of this stuff at home. Download Unity, it's free. You're going to have to play with the camera. So now that's the beautiful thing, that scaffolded object orientation, because now I have to take my object, my pill, and I have to have it interact with the camera. So as this pill moves, right? So as this pill moves, and I can showcase it here, right? Here we go. Where'd he go? There he is. So if I hit the edge, I need to move the camera. If I want to make this a third-person game where the camera's behind them, I need to adjust the. I need to make some other adjustments to the camera, but the camera has to follow. And so that's where you need to understand objects, because the next component of Unity is understanding the world around it and how objects interact with each other. And we're going to talk about that probably more next week in this wonderful world of streaming education. So the camera also is an object, and I need to talk to that object. Cool. All right. Back to some PoE now. Let's play a little more Path of Exile. If anyone has any questions about anything, feel free to bring it up in chat. That was a little quicker than I really wanted to go through the Unity stuff. I know there's lots of people probably dropping off. The stream's getting a little long. That's okay. My voice is getting tired, but that's a push through. Push through for the students, for the teachers, for everyone out there. Again, greatly appreciate those that did watch this or are watching this. You guys are wonderful. So we don't want to go back to the mud flats, now we want to progress through this cave. Watch our raging spirits rage. This is where you'd be on a stream with someone, especially they wouldn't be talking about all of the stuff that I'm talking about, and they'd be like listening to techno music and be going and they just wouldn't talk to you. I don't think that to me is not a healthy stream, but people love it. Sometimes those people are very talented gamers, so they're fun to watch. Any questions from anyone out there in Streamland? Yes, my beard is natural. Thank you for asking. Oh wait, that's not in chat. That's just a great question. If anyone is watching this, you're wondering, is this guy a teacher? Like, I feel bad for his kids. I do too most days. The other piece of the puzzle is I like having fun with kids. That's why I became a teacher. I think part of our profession is you have to be a little bit ridiculous. And in my case, a lot of it. So if you're wondering why I did not go to the ledge, it's because I need to find a bad guy. It's a giant crab who lives in the pineapple under the sea. SpongeBob SquarePants. My voice is so hoarse from doing much more educating than we normally do these days. 15-minute videos, this is insane. So this is something I do appreciate with games as well, is the maze. I get real frustrated with them. However, that is also a piece of where I've built a little bit of my personal resilience, is through understanding that sometimes you got to change direction. The crazy voice being referenced in chat is the fact that I like to make my teaching videos a little crazy right now, because it's fun. SpongeBob SquarePants! That's a good question. Can anyone become a gamer? 100%. And the biggest thing is finding games that you enjoy, right? And finding genres that you enjoy. I think it's like a book. And that's the biggest thing. When anyone's like, oh, you're a gamer? Oh, nerd. Man, you just probably sit on your couch and stare at TV all day. Yeah, and so do people who read books and watch TV. And then that's the biggest thing. And that's my big promotion in terms of gaming and providing access to games. Why I really want esports at the comp is our community has a lot of people who can't afford things, and so school is a great outlet for these things. Like, we could afford to buy a couple of PlayStation consoles and have our students participating in some of this stuff and understanding, and we can have those conversations with them, that it's not just the violence. I don't like the violence. To me, makes it more real. It immerses me a bit, which is something I like. But the biggest component is the fact that I'm playing it for the story. I'm moving forward because I want to finish my quests. I want to find what I'm supposed to do. It's about the accomplishment, right? And I think those are the things that we really need to have those discussions with our kids, right? And if there is violence from video games, it's because people aren't having those discussions. They're throwing kids in front of consoles and saying, here you go. Go play games. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I love the fact my daughter watches cartoons and I watch cartoons, and I love video games, and she likes to play games as well. We're finding, but I make sure as a parent I have those conversations with my daughter about the story. Like, what are we learning? What's coming from this? What's the purpose? It's not just purposeless stuff. There's things, especially like reading a book, the same thing. Watching a TV show, same thing. There's purpose to it, right? I know lots of people's favorite show, and I'm bringing this up because I know hopefully there's the viewer is still there that is Friends. The show Friends, good storyline, very humorous. I'm not huge into it, not my cup of tea. But in terms of that, like, people will spend countless hours watching Friends. No one would bat an eye. No one cares, and people think it's great. Oh, good for you, watching 18 hours of Friends. It's not that it's a bad thing. I don't know. Pick your poison. You do you. But it's having that conversation, understanding why is Friends good, and it's the dialogue. It's the understanding they're like real people, right? It's having that conversation about the show. And I think as you get older, sometimes we think about those things, and sometimes we don't. So I really hope students get that opportunity, and everyone should, absolutely everyone. And can anyone become a gamer? You bet. A lot of it, like I said, it's picking your flavor, right? I read fantasy and science fiction novels. Not everyone's going to read fantasy and science fiction novels. I love Ender's Game. Orson Scott Card was amazing. One of the best authors of all time, by the way, if you're looking for a good book to read these days. Ender's Game, not the movie. The movie was okay, but the book has so many layers. Like, it's just astronomical. As an adult, I get something completely different than what I got when I read it when I was in grade 5 and 6. So it's picking your flavor. It's understanding what type of game do you like. What type of story are you looking for? That's the key component. That's where I think a lot of people are like, oh, Call of Duty Warzone is the only cool game out there, so I'm not going to play a video game because people are going to think I'm weird if I like something else. No, that's fine. Absolutely fine. If someone can't make a Replit game, come to a complete quite, is it good enough? Never go with good enough. That's a big thing for me. Is the work is never done. You can always make it a little bit better. Big thing is feedback. Like if you're thinking like, am I at a point where I am complete or I've achieved what I want out of it, then say so. Say, okay, I think I'm comfortable where I'm at with this. So our last point today, and I'm almost at a good segue point for that. And this stream's getting a little long, but I'm still having fun. Is art and advertising. And I'm going to end with a game trailer, but I'm going to talk about it a bit first before I close out the stream with that game trailer. Is business models for games, and that's a really neat thing coming, and how do we make gaming more accessible? So something like Path of Exile, and this is partly why I chose this game today, it's cross-platform. So if you have a game console or if you have a computer, you can play this game. Do you need a good computer? Not really. A better computer makes, I think, more immersive and a lot more fun.
Smiles with sharp teeth.
But it's free. It's free to play. So you'll notice that there's a lot more enemies happening, so a lot more things going on that I need to be aware of, so I'm paying attention to my game a little bit more than I am on my discussions. Just got to build up my streamer skills. Those that can talk the entire time that they're playing games and not seem to be distracted in any way, shape, or form. But it's free, and that's a really big gateway for gaming is costs. So how do we remove that barrier? Is providing free opportunities, and if you want more, allowing people to have that opportunity too, if they choose to buy items or cosmetics, or I want this super cool looking thing.
Clutter.
I believe everyone should have access to those things. I think there should be something of achievements and rewards, and some are, but I think we can get more access to games by reducing the cost. They are media productions, so that's where there's a lot of money that goes into the top games. This game, and if you're wondering, like, okay, it's pretty good. Like, the graphics are really good. It's not cheesy. Lots of good things happening. How does it survive? It has a microtransaction store, which is a unique business model. So you can play the game for free, completely free, but you'll find there's some pain points. And one thing I have appreciated about Path of Exile, other than other microtransaction games versus other microtransaction games, is their pain points are things that you could live with if you really wanted to. Stash storage is a big one. I bought stash tabs on sale because I'm a responsible shopper. But that's a big thing with that is, and I really like this build. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much to chat for picking this type of thing, because I can just let my minions go blow things up while I go to town here, discuss these things. Is the fact that, yeah, and their prices are reasonable, so that's good. I also believe any free-to-play game that I've ever purchased, I've always contributed, because I also know what goes behind the scenes to making these things, and the effort is Herculean, absolutely monumental. So in terms of the advertising and the business component of games, you need these types of people. So you need an advertising executive, you need those bright minds that understand psychology in order to help make decisions of how to help people spend their money. So that's the little bit of the capitalist in me, is understanding that money is there to be spent. And what better way is having someone, and think about it ethically and responsibly, right? Think about sustainability. Think about, like, it's understanding it. I understand science. I understand the sustainability side, and this is now subject cross-curricular connection, is because I understand climate change, because I understand all those things, I would understand how to build purchase decisions for people a little bit better. Why? Because I have an idea of how to make it sustainable for everything. I understand how to put the angle on it that makes it ethically responsible and socially responsible. So those are big components. Okay, actually this is a good, man, we were almost there. We're almost there. Probably shouldn't hit the mirror just so I could get there a lot faster. Movement is very good because I can teleport up cliffs. Makes my life easier. Gonna need to get some zombies up here. All right, perfect point here. So, probably wondering how I can spend these points so quickly. It's because I've played this game a lot. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the last piece of the puzzle here. I'm just going to exit Passive Exile. Hopefully you enjoyed this game. I really enjoy it. It is gritty. It is something where there is a lot of gore, for lack of better words. But it's something where, again, I appreciate those things from an artwork and immersion perspective. I'm not someone who's going to want to go see that in real life. It's separating fantasy and reality. And that's going to be a big thing. It's going to be a big thing going forward, is understanding that how can we get politicians, how can we get all of the people who don't believe in games, and understanding the art and understanding the immersion and those things, understanding that this is the modern book. How do we get those people on board? And part of that is, again, through the art and advertising. So the last piece is, how can I use my art skills to not starve? There are lots of opportunities out there for art musicians. If that's your passion, go down those roads. Don't think you have to be the doctor, the lawyer. Don't think you have to go and be that budding scientist, that engineer. If your passion is art, if it's games, if it's music, there is opportunity for you. You may have to make a little bit of a compromise, right? You may not be able to go and be a performing violinist, right? You may not be able to go and be Van Gogh or other artists who made famous paintings. However, can you be part of a team? Can you be doing something that provides enrichment to people? Absolutely you can. And I think that's the biggest thing, is understanding that. Why are you doing art? Well, you like art because you're wanting to portray beauty. You wanting to portray those things. You want people to see the message, right? See the message. It's part of something I like art. I appreciate a lot of art, is the message. And so lots of people may not have paintings hanging in art galleries, but can you take that skill set and apply it somewhere? You bet you can. And gaming is one piece. It's a field that I'm just promoting, partly because that's what the stream is about. The other piece of the puzzle, though, is if that's your passion, there is opportunity. And the compromise may just be the fact that you may not get a painting hanging in a gallery, but you can send your message in a different way. And finding that way. It's out there. Musicians, same thing. Writers, right? You might not get your bestseller, New York Times bestseller, but you may be the person responsible for providing a story for a kid's show or a video game or something else. Okay, so how do you not starve of art? Look for opportunity. It's out there, and follow your passion. Love it. Love what you do. How do you make game trailers? Well, I'm going to keep that one a little bit shorter because the stream is getting ultra long, and I'm okay with it. I'm having fun. I think viewership is dropping off, and that's okay. Those that are diehards appreciate it. But in terms of how you make game trailers, there's a lot of different ways. iMovie is a way to start. And so my video production students, that's something that we're going to work on next year, is understanding how to make movie trailers, game trailers, book kind of exposés, documentaries, those types of things. But in terms of trailers, lots of things. Unity actually can be used for something like that. You can create scripted animations, so that's a piece of the puzzle. You can use Blender, which is an animation program. You can use other animation programs. If you want to do animated pieces, if you want to do trailers for movies, you can take footage from the movie and put it together using things like Final Cut or Premiere Pro. So learning those programs is going to be big, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more on stream at another time. How do you make videos with art? Here it is. So this is how I'm going to end my stream. This is a game trailer just came out. It is, I'm not going to play it all. I will full screen in a second. It's for the new Assassin's Creed game, and I really appreciate Assassin's Creed because they are so good at tying in history with game. They are one of the best and have been the best. Actually, when the Notre Dame Cathedral burnt down, or it didn't burn down, but was severely damaged, Ubisoft Montreal, Canadian connection there, folks, yay, is one of the very few places that have an exact replica of Notre Dame in one of their games. And so they extrapolated that model, and I believe allowed people to kind of interact with it. If they didn't, that's sorry for being facetious, but one of the things is they did showcase it, and I think that was pretty awesome. And so that's why I do appreciate it. It's a Canadian connection, but it's that historic, it's that cross-curricular connection, is understanding that games can be a bridge. So how do you put art? Here's how. That's all.
They are heartless.
There's your story. Put it all together here. Story, Norse
Godless
mythology,
barbarians.
right? Music.
They murder and kill blindly.
Cultural perception.
They scar the lands of England. Lands they will never defend, never love. The time has come to speak to them in a language they will understand.
Boom. All right, so that's where I'm gonna end the stream today. You can watch the rest of the trailer on your own, but there's art, there's advertising. So if you are someone that's interested in the business side, you can connect your art skills with the business side. That's a marketing component. There is no greater business in the world of games, in my opinion, and it's fascinating. It's a very challenging industry, which means that you might get into it if that's something you are passionate about and want to do. But there is opportunity within the field, and then that's where we're going to end this stream, is discussing about looking at the field. Game development is just a small piece of the development field, and there's more things that you can do. You can start somewhere and be a developer, understanding how development places work and how to develop programs for companies, and then move into games. For art, you can start in terms of building small portfolios and working with small studios and being a freelancer maybe, and getting your art out there for these game companies, and doing that as your compromise to, again, make ends meet. And then maybe as you're making these things, you create your historic painting that might be hanging in a museum or an art gallery. These are the things that can happen, right? But you got to start somewhere, and that somewhere is whatever your passion is. And so follow your passion, do what you love, and be who you want to be. I'm Mr. David Brown. I teach at Brooks Composite High School. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.